So hey there everyone, another Saturday. Get some work done on the old girl, moving ever closer to, to getting her back on the road. So on an unusually warm Saturday this far north this time of year, but it's actually melting. There's actually water coming out the drain, so it's going to be a good day for working. Plan today, I'm going to tackle some new fenders. So I went and visited with the original owner who sold me this truck earlier in the week, and he gave me the some fiberglass fenders. Now I'm not sure if they're off a 359 or a 379, but from what I can gather looking on the internet, they're both kind of the same shape and size. I may need to re-drill some of those holes, but that's pretty easy. Fiberglass deal. So what I'm planning to do, it's still pretty dark here, early morning, is these are huck bolts. I'm going to probably zip cut those off, and then I'm just going to use stainless bolts with nylon lock nuts to hold the new ones on. So I think that'll look pretty good. What else? The differential, yeah. So I dropped it off at the gear center, and it's completely seized. You couldn't even turn the ring gear. So they took it apart, and what ended up happening was the power divider had been exploded. So pieces everywhere, and that's what went kind of downstream and then tore up the ring gear, if you recall from the previous video. So what they have to do is they have to completely rebuild it, but Tyler and the guys at the gear center are willing to take on the challenge. It's a very vintage unit. I know some folks have said, why don't you go get one out of a wrecker? But it's got coarse spline, output shafts and input shafts, so the yokes are hard to find. The casing's actually damaged. They have to get a new casing. It's going to be a lot of work. So they're able to cobble it together with parts they have laying around. So I'm going to let them go ahead and rebuild it. Everyone always said there's probably a reason this truck was parked, and I think we found it. But the ratio is a 456. It's a 46,000 rear, so it's a heavy duty rear, and I'll be able to pull out tree stumps. I kind of wish it was a little higher of a ratio for mileage, but I guess that's what the auxiliary stick's for. So yeah, get that rebuilt. We'll put that in. I'm probably going to clean up the differential casing and get that all ready. Pull off the back cover so I can swap out that bearing and seal. I've got some odds and ends on the interior I want to work on. I was thinking of putting in the new floor and cutting those holes. Again, it's pretty dark, so I should wait till it gets a little lighter. But I got a nice pine panel that I'm going to use for the floor. Cut out the holes for the shifters and do some other work in the interior. And then I'll probably mount, I got my new extra wide stainless bands. So I'll probably mount the driver's side fuel tank, and then we'll get some new lines. And then with the diff back in there, I think I can actually maybe drive this truck around the yard. So I guess I will get started here. Little by little, she's coming together. Okay, so I pulled the fuel line out, and I'm going to replace this. I was actually talking with a fellow, his name's Ryan, who bought the sister truck to this one, the red one. The original owner told me this had two trucks, and I bought this one and Ryan bought the other. I went out and saw him, and he's making some great progress on his truck. Of course, he's got an indoor shop to work on, so I was a little jealous of that. But he mentioned that the reason his truck kept stalling out was the main fuel line actually collapsed on the inside. So once he replaced the fuel line, it was perfect. So I'm not going to mess around with these old girls. So I'm going to get some new. This is the feed, and then this is the return. They obviously go on the tank on the top there. So yeah, we'll just keep moving forward here. I can still mount the tank, and then I'll pick up those air lines later this week. Okay, so I'm ready to put the tank into place. I made a little saddle for it. I'll put the tank on there, and then I'll just use a floor jack to raise it into place. And then I'm going to put my fancy new bands on and see if we can we get a tank tucked in there. So here's the bands. Obviously nice shiny stainless. If there's a you might be interested in, there was a guy that did a Peterbilt. He rebuilt an old 359 and he used a cab off a 7.9. And he built a stainless steel cab. He took all the panels off and made them all out of stainless. So just Google Peterbilt 369. You can watch all the videos of them putting that together. But I remember when he was peeling off the plastic from all the panels, he was saying it was like opening a present at Christmas. And I have to agree, when you peel as much as I hate this plastic stuff they put on the polished stainless, it is kind of neat when you get it all peeled off and you got a shiny new part. I always said truckers like shiny things. So this was the old pins that were in there that held the old tank straps. So I decided, you know, why not just get a bolt that's the same diameter and just put that through to hold up the strap and tighten that down. So that's what I'm going to go with. Get these things mounted. Okay, so making progress. I got the bolts in the back. I think the learning here is to maybe get the tank polished after you put it on the truck, but doing my best not to scratch it up. But I already found my first challenge. So when they built this, they built it for probably a 379, and this guy is too big for the hole, so now I got to drill this out. Just another one of the many challenges of making something new fit something old. So one of the commenters made a point that, man, this restoration's taken a long time, and I can't argue with that, but there's always something that just gonna take too long. But just gotta keep at it, and eventually I'll get there. As I've said, this is half the fun is getting there. And someone else made a comment that I'm gonna know every bolt on this truck, and boy, is that ever the truth when I finally get her running. Now that's looking sharp. It's just mocked up for now. Still gotta tighten it up and straighten out the protectors there, the separator, so it doesn't eat into the aluminum tank. But boy, oh boy, that's looking pretty sharp. I like that. See what I mean? When you go to customize something, you go to fix one thing and you end up with another problem. So look at this, the bracket for the air tank is actually touching. So I'll have to drop the fuel tank again and then grind this out a little so there's some clearance there, because we definitely don't want that rubbing up against the tank. Just another thing. So what should have been an hour job is probably turning into a half a day job. So what I had to do now was, because the bands wouldn't tighten up tight enough, so I had to drill new holes to take up some of the slack. And then because of that, because of the bands being the big wide bands that they are, I had to notch it out, so grind that out so it actually tuck up under the saddle and tighten up. So I don't know, man, we'll get there, but customizing new tanks on an old truck is a pain. So just keep drilling the holes here. You see, drilled a pile of hole, and now I'm just drilling the it's aluminum and not steel. Yeah, there we go. Easy peasy. All right, there she goes. May not be perfect, but but it still looks pretty good. It's I think that's pretty sharp. So those big bands covered up the ugly, all the damage to the tank. I had a heck of a time getting this guy stretched out. I had to actually use the chain fall to the forklift to tighten up the band enough to get the nut started. But I got that done, cleaned it up, and even threw some diesel in there. So that is looking really, really sharp. So I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. So I'll probably cover it up with plastic so it doesn't get too weathered before I get the sleeper on. And then I also wanted to show, I was one of my followers on Instagram. It's at the Reverend. He's got quite a collection of old glitter shift knobs and shift switch extensions. So I ordered a set off of him. So I think that's pretty slick. Try and match it up with the with the shifter. So yeah, again, trying to knock the ugly off little by little. Keep picking away at it. So my brother-in-law had a neat idea. He redid his basement recently with the these, I guess you call them imitation wood flooring, and he had some extras that he gave to me. And I think I might go with something like this. I was actually at Home Depot, and they've got gray and black ones that I think I might go with, because I'm going to do gray and black interior to match the sleeper. So I might return these to him. But I like the idea, and these ones are a little different. But the ones I was looking at actually have vapor barrier, or kind of a vapor rubber bottom, which should go well in here. So then I think I'll just click all those together and make a new floor for the truck here. I think that'll look pretty sharp. All right, to continue in the spirit of knocking off the ugly, I did get 2 of these recently. Legacy Silver air ride seats. I think that is gonna look just beautiful. There you go. Little by little, that's gonna be nice. And I did get an identical one for the other side. So yeah, still got to get some interior. I'm looking for ideas for insulation. There was some metallic kind of foamy insulation. I was just thinking of gluing in. It's kind of like the matte stuff you see the guys do with their hot rods. And then I'm going to order an interior from the Daycab company. They were going to give me a good deal. And then for this guy, you can get a stainless steel panel that just is going to cover up all the ugly right there. Clean up the interior, finish that floor as I mentioned, put on that fancy steering wheel from the earlier video from my wonderful wife. And yeah, she is going to be looking pretty sharp. Can't wait.